Hey, welcome to Taylor's Trick-Taking Table. I'm Taylor, and whew, I am tired. We just finished Portland Game Collective Con, which was a local trick-taking convention that we put on, and a bunch of people came, a bunch of people flew in, way more than we were expecting. It was so much fun to see y'all and people who watch the channel or just friends that I hadn't met in person yet, which was so much fun. In fact, I was kind of blocking it, but see this cat, this amazing gift that Chris and Hassie brought me. Just, oh, thank you so much. It makes music. I haven't dabbled yet, but I'm so excited. And look how well it ties the whole wall together. I mean, you know, my cat head, so this just like, I feel like it perfectly captures the mood of the channel as well. So thank you again, Chris and Hassie. Wonderful addition to the wall. Also, after a vlog of sorts, I'll go through kind of a list of games I played at the con. Here's that list here. A ton of trick-taking games. I tried to teach a lot and have people play a bunch of games that they were hoping to try at the con. So I didn't try too many new things, but it was great to kind of dabble and see different people's takes on kind of classics or games that I've loved and played before. And one final note. So I gave away a bunch of games in the last game, which was just Heroes. It got moved around, so this is actually going to go to John Guest. So John, if you're still watching, reach out. I have a link tree in the description of different ways to reach out to me. But yeah, let me know your address, and then I'll get all those games sent out. It's been a while. I'm still holding on to the games from those giveaways, but I'll get those sent out soon. All that out of the way, on the way to the vlog. Okay, see ya later. Do that travel vlog. You didn't even travel. It was in Portland. You drove like 10 minutes. Yeah, just something, you know, something that fits the vibe.
I really can't stay.
Baby, it's cold outside.
I gotta go away.
Baby, it's cold outside.
This evening has been.
Hoping that
Pick
you
that song. It was like 100 degrees both days. Yeah, no, just way different vibes. Please, just something that a little more upbeat. Yeah, no, a little bit more upbeat.
said and done, will you meet me
I kind of shot my shot earlier. You know exactly where it is. You know exactly where that is. You seem like a basketball guy.
Alrighty, well, that was interesting. But before I talk about the games I played and some thoughts on them, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who flew in and came down to the con. It was amazing to meet everyone and, you know, put faces to names for the first time, meeting people in person. And some people brought just amazing gifts. I talked at the top about the cat keyboard from Chris and Hassie. Thank you so much. And also Tyla, holy smokes. They made these wonderful little packages with Tichus. Everybody loves Tichus. And inside each one was a wood, I don't know what it's called, some like engraving tool. But there was this wood engraving tool that made a PGC Con 2022 first player token. Isn't that adorable? Thank you so much, Tyla. It is just the sweetest. People are just so kind. And thank you for coming down. I know I was talking to someone who described it as like friends meeting up at college or something. Some like nice warmth, like you've known everyone and it was so much fun and giddy and there was so much excitement in the air. So thanks so much again to everyone who came down. It means the world. And if you're watching and wanted to come down next year, definitely you should. It is so much fun. I think I'm going to just go in chronological order and talk about the games we played. So Saturday started off with us playing Don't Get Got at the very start, which is a non-trick taking game. So definitely skip ahead. In fact, I'm going to have all the games kind of broken up on the bottom here, so you can skip ahead to which ones you might be super interested in. But we play Don't Get Got, where you're trying to catch the other players in the game in some kind of goof. A good example is like tricked someone to look under the table. Someone got me with that one. It made for a very paranoid first day. It was fun, but kind of a lot. Like one of mine was cheat and then have someone who's playing the game catch you. I can't do that. I couldn't do it. I couldn't bring myself to do it. Anyway, the first actual trick-taking game we played was Anansi. First person I kind of ran into was John from John Gets Games, who I parodied on my Anansi video. And so he was saying, hey, like, wouldn't that be great if the first game I play is Anansi? Like, that is great, John. That's a great call. So we set it up, and it's always bad when I forget some rules. Oh, it feels the worst. Like, I teach a lot of videos. Sometimes, you know, it's like studying for an exam. It's like cramming for an exam. I'll learn rules, and then they'll kind of go out the ear. So I was trying to teach the game, and I forgot a couple rules, and someone at the table caught me, and I felt so bad. Oh, it was embarrassing. But it ended up working, and John really liked it. It's always great to show somebody a game or kind of a new mechanism that they hadn't seen before, and they really like it. So in Anansi, it's bidding as you go. So instead of like looking at your hand and going, I want to, or I think I'm going to win 4 tricks, right? It's, you know, I don't know if I'm going to win like around 3 or 4, so I'm just going to play as I go, and then you slowly work your way up to that 3 or 4 bid. It's really cool. He really loved it. I loved that game, so it was a blast. And then the next one we played was 12 Chip Trick, which I actually have right here. I don't know if the camera's going to catch it. Oh, that works. It's just 12, cards. They're crokinole, wooden crokinole pieces with numbers taped to the bottom of them. But essentially it's 12 cards, And I am always on the hunt for trick-taking games that use as few cards or components as possible, but still have interesting decision spaces and kind of gameplay behind it. And this does it probably the best I've ever seen. A lot of times, really small trick-taking games, they're just too limited, right? Either the hands themselves are really small, or like it's just very basic what you're doing. This, while it is somewhat basic, the premise is it's 3-player only, and you play into the trick, and the winner of the trick has to take a card out of it, and flip it face up, and that's part of their hand total. And the numbers go from like 1 to 12 in the deck. It's so weird talking about games without cards, like using all the same terminology, but yeah, the cards themselves are 1 through 12, and at the end, everyone's gonna have 4 cards. Everyone's gonna have 4 tokens or cards, and you're gonna total up those numbers, and you want to hit 20. So you want kind of low, not too high. If you go past 20, you have your score. So if you get like 30, you only got 15 points in a sense. So it's really interesting. It was cool because he picked up on it really quickly and realized how neat it was, like almost immediately within the first couple hands. I love when somebody who's super into games, like obviously John Gets Games, has the whole channel. You should check it out if you haven't seen it. I love it when somebody who loves games and loves mechanisms and can kind of see what makes something special, and you can like see that it clicks for them. And he, I think, has already mocked up his own version of 12-chip trick, and it was awesome just to see how much he liked it. And it's cool to show somebody, you know, a new Japanese game, or like a new trick-taking game, something that sets the trick-taking scene or this trick-taking kind of genre apart from what other kind of genres are doing right now. So he really liked it, and I always love showing people and having them be like, whoa, at the table. The next one I played was Losers' Rights, and it's kind of an area control, area majority. It kind of toes the line on those. I know it's something people kind of like conflate a lot, but the premise is it's only one hand, and as you play, the winner of the trick starts setting this like 5x5 grid, and the losers of the trick are placing like control markers around the cards in that grid. And if you place on the diagonals, it's like a weaker control, but it touches more spots, right? Because you can touch 4 different cards. If you place either vertically or horizontally, it's a stronger control, but it only touches 2 cards. And then if you place in the middle of a card, it's like the strongest, but again, it's only touching 1 card. So it's interesting because players are kind of evaluating the grid as it grows. And I really, really, really want to try this some more. It was interesting because I played it twice at 5, and both those games landed really well. And then I played once at 4, which I heard was a really good player count, and it bounced off of pretty much everyone at the table. And it's interesting to see a game where you know it works, and you know it works well, but when you're showing it to someone else and it falls flat, and you kind of know that it falls flat, how do you handle that, right? Because I mean, there's just times, I mean, it's random cards and the way things come out and the way players like can develop the game. Games can just fall flat, and it's tough when it's someone's first play. There's so many trick-taking games, and there's so many games in general. It's tough when a game falls flat and you have to kind of convince someone like, no, like try playing it again. Like, it's actually really fun. That was just a weird first one. It's like if there's a really good show and the first 2 seasons are bad or something, to tell someone to like slog through another season just to get to like something good is always tough, because there's just, you know, there's good TV, there's good other games. So I really liked it. It was weird that it fell so flat, that one game, but I think it handles, when it works, I think the game handles area control in a really interesting way. You can hedge your bets a lot easier than in other area control games, like Jiraku, right? In that game, you're kind of pushing your units around to try to get in the perfect spot at the right moment. That's more about timing. In Losers' Rights, it's more about, I guess it is timing, but it's judging when to win a trick, because then you control what points go out there, versus losing a trick, because then you can actually put your influence out there. Yeah, and I wonder if that's just like a hard thing to teach the first trick, or the first time you play the game. It's a tough one to grasp. But yeah, I really liked this. I'm hoping to do a video for it in the future. The next game we played was Yokai Septet. We played it at 4, so the team's version. And that's just a lovely game. I don't have a video for it yet, but the person I played it with is on Trick Talkers. It's a podcast about trick taking that I actually jumped on for the second episode that actually just came out. But I'll have that link in the description. They're going to talk about Yokai Septet next week or in 2 weeks. The funny thing is, me and that person were on like a yokai team for a yokai tournament. So really, really fun. But it was tough because we didn't split each other up, so we were really good at the game, or we were well versed in the game. I don't know if we're that good at the game. But we were teaching it to someone new. So it's always tough to have like two people who are well versed in a game be on a team against someone who's new. They did pretty well, but I think we definitely won. But it was really, really fun. I love that game. It was always a hoot. I should probably do a video for it soon, actually. Maybe a team month in the future. That'd be fun. The next game we played was, oh, I'm going to say this wrong, but it's Sandannatou? Ooh, the name's right there. But it's a wacky game. It's another 3-player only game where there's 3 suits on the cards, and the cards go from 0 to 8. So there's 27 cards in the game. And it's perfect information. And why I'm saying all this is because there's a grid. Kind of a grid. There's a shape on the board where there's 0 in the center, and then there's 1 through 8 around the sides. And as you can see, that makes a million different triangles in the center. And so players will be placing kind of their control marker on one of the triangles. It's so hard to explain this. And so then in the trick, when the trick gets resolved, say you play like a 0, an 8, and a 1, as you can see on the picture that I'm hopefully doing, please, editing Taylor, please edit this well. You can see that makes a triangle. And so then you look at who's in that triangle, who has control markers in that triangle. And if you played on suit, you put a bead onto your control marker, because your control marker is just a little stick that holds up to 4 beads. And if you were offsuit from the lead, you remove a bead if you're in that triangle. Whew! So you want beads up until 3, but if you get a 4th bead, it goes from... You get a point per bead, but if you get 4 beads, it's 0. So it's like this, like, don't get too many beads. That's why sometimes removing a bead is good. I'm explaining this in like the worst way possible. Long story short, if you win a trick, you choose the order that people play next. So you please who... So if you win the trick, you choose who leads, and then you choose who plays second, and then who plays third. Whew. Then, if there's ever the same number in the trick, it makes a line, then the trick just gets wiped. I think that's mostly it. I don't know why I'm explaining this fully. It's a wild game. It's a wild, wacky game. It is one of those games where you play the first hand or 2, and you're not sure what is going on. And it's only a one-hand game, so you're like, what? But I found you can kind of get into it. There's I think some things you can do in this game. I don't know how to talk about it without doing an actual video. So again, actual video on this is coming. It's a weird game. I don't know what else to say. Okay, now we're talking. This is the good stuff. The next game we played was Roullette-Taking. It says Roullette-Taking game there. And it's roulette with trick taking. It is fascinating. I'm definitely going to cover this soon. But the hook essentially is, it's a last trick game where all that matters is the last trick, kind of. You're just trying to guess. So if you know roulette, you're just trying to, in roulette, I'm not talking about the trick taking game here, the actual game of roulette, a ball goes around and it lands on a number. And the whole point of roulette, that game, is you're trying to guess, you're trying to bid and place money on the number or type of number or whatever that is going to be where the ball lands. So in the trick taking game, you're trying to guess which card is going to win the last trick. Pretty cool. But the tricks in between, if you win a trick in between, that lets you bet. So the tricks in between matter because that's the only way you can bet. But also it's like, because the only trick that matters for the betting is the last trick. So super rad concept. What's wild is every hand a player is the dealer and they choose when betting stops. So you might be like, oh, why wouldn't they choose like as soon as possible? Because they get all of the money from the missed bids. So they're incentivized to delay. But then spots are getting covered up through the bidding, right? Oh, it's such a cool game. I played it at 4 and at 3. At 4, I don't think it's that good. It's just too long. You don't get to bet as much. You have less control over who wins the or what card wins the final trick. So it's just I don't think personally very worth it. But at 3 players, such a good game. I'm definitely covering this soon, probably next month or maybe the month after. But really, really, really liked it. I'm kind of a gambling man, a rambling man, and it scratches that itch really, really well. But yeah, this landed really well with everyone I showed it to as well. You have to like gambling. I think someone I showed it to didn't like gambling. And I was like, ugh. It's like half the name of the game, so I could understand not liking this game if you don't like gambling. But it was a really good time. It was a super good time. So yeah, this was, I don't know if maybe the number 1 game of the con, but it was up there. It was really, really fun. Next we played Cat in the Box, and that's just like a classic. It was funny though, I caused a paradox every single time. And I'm not the worst trick taker. I think I'm an okay trick taker. And there were just times when I just couldn't not cause a paradox. I did everything, I played as safe as possible. Followed the suit the whole time. I still caused a paradox. I do wonder if sometimes you just get hands in that game that like you can't get out of. Or the game can just move in a state where you just can't get out of it. So I still like it. I like Cat in the Box a lot. But that experience of it where everyone got positive and I was the only one who got negative was like, It's still fun. I like Cat in the Box. But definitely a sobering play of it. Next we played Salvage, and I mean, I had a good time. Someone else did not have a good time at all. It's one of those things where I said about it in my final thoughts when I talk about Salvage. The game itself kind of has like a core flaw with the bidding, and if you don't like that, it kind of stands out even worse. So some people did not like that. And it's an avoidance game, right? So if you don't like that, you're probably not going to like it also. So, I mean, it kind of just cemented Salvage as kind of like an okay variant of Hearts. Next we played Monster Trick, or Stickling, and I really liked it. The only con was I played it at 5, and I do not think it's very good at 5. But the hook to that game is you can play to one of the 4 tricks that are going on at the table at any time, essentially. And like if there's only 3 going on, you can create the 4th. It's really cool. It's like a mix of like time pal tricks, and it has like a moving bid system. I don't know how much the moving bid was that interesting of a mechanic. But again, I think it was just at 5, things were just a little too wacky. So I'm hoping to play it again. But yeah, Monster Trick, which I think is Z Garcia's like one of his favorite trick-taking games, was good. It's my first time playing it, and it was kind of like on a pedestal for a while. So I'm really hoping to play that like 3 and 4 coming up. But the best game, I think, of Saturday was Chaos Tichu. So Chaos Tichu, we didn't play that late. We played it like around 9 p.m. or something. But it was me, John, and then this duo who are really good at Tichu called Dan and Bert. Dan and Bert are pretty good partners. They have like their own passing convention and stuff. And I was partnered with John from John Gets Games. It was actually, Chaos Tichu is actually his group's game where it's Tichu. I hope you know how to play Tichu. If not, I have a video for that. But in Tichu, you can call either Tichu after you get your hands, but before you play a card, if you think you're going to go out first. Or you can call Grand Tichu, where after looking at your first, I think it's 6 cards or 8 cards or whatever, if you think you're going to go out first by just looking at those first cards, you can call Grand Tichu. So again, each team has to have one player called Grand Tichu. So you deal out those first cards, 8 or 9 or whatever it is, and then at the same point, everyone at the table looks at their cards really quick and goes, and it's kind of like a speed game, because if you don't think you have a good hand, you try to grab the other cards that you were dealt as fast as possible, because then you're like, oh, I can't call Grand, I already looked at the rest of my hand, sorry. So then your other partner has to call Grand. It was wild. And I'm someone who's like very not good at Tichu. I've played about like 15 times maybe. And so I was looking at my hand, I'm like, is this a grand hand? Is this a grand hand? And John's already like, sorry man, I can't. I'm not calling Grand on this. And I was like, that's fair. So I called Grand Tichu. I called it. I was allowed to call it about 3 or 4 of the 5 hands we played. I think 3. And I hit it 3 times. It was really good. It was a really good feeling. Because, again, someone on the other team is called Grand. So the stakes are just like huge. And what was bad about the first hand I did it on, this is going to kill anyone who's actually like good at Tichu. I thought you could play runs of 3. Again, I have all these rules in my head. Everything gets conflated. I thought you could play runs of 3 in Tichu, which you cannot. And so I was like killing it, you know. I called Grand. I had a pretty good hand. I got past like the Phoenix or something. I got past something really good. So I was like boosh, 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 going out, like killing it. And I was planning to go out with a run of 3 using the Phoenix too. So I play that run of 3 and everyone at the table's like, what? What are you doing? Yeah, wasn't good. So I had to pull that run of 3 promptly back into my hand. And then I had to play them as singles. It still worked out, but woof, it was messy. It was very messy and very scary. And then later on, I messed up a wish. It was bad. It was super bad. But it was cool. What was great was I did like, I think the last hand, I called Grand again, the last hand. And I got past 2 8s. So I had like an 8 bomb. And there were 0 bombs the whole game. And I mean, it was like 5 hands, so not like too crazy. But it was the last hand, and someone's like, why haven't there been any bombs? And it was right when I was playing a bomb, which was a great moment. Very loud game, very crazy game. Just the stakes are just to the moon, you know? So everyone's just like screaming. It was great. It was maybe the game of the con. It was so much fun. So after the craziness of Saturday, Sunday was nice because it was less paranoid. We didn't play Don't Get Got, so people were less on edge. But the first game I played was Bug Council. We had 5 players and we're kind of like debating on what to play. But Bug Council I think works great at 5. And it's another really nice, like, loser does something, winner does something. So a lot of people were still like engaged. I think 5 players is tough to get everyone engaged in the trick. But it worked really well. No one did the no allegiance kind of shoot the moon of that game until the very end when 3 people did it. Which is great. It's always fun. It made for a really, really fun kind of finale. And if you don't know how to play, definitely check out Bug Council, the video. It's probably one of my favorite trick takers. I just love Makala, and I love that shoot the moon mechanism in it. It's really nicely done. And then the next game we played was Texas Showdown, because we still had 5 people. And Texas Showdown, I really like. I think it was tough though because it's pretty flow charty as a game. So I haven't taught it, but how the game works is it's must follow. It's an avoidance game where you don't want to win the trick, but it's must follow where if someone's short suited and they play a different suit than the lead suit, then you can follow that suit. So it was tough because that was already like enough to be like, oh, what can I do to some players? And then on top of that, if you ever play the highest of a suit, then that suit can't win the trick. But then if all the suits have the highest played, then it goes back to being, it was just like a lot. It's a very flowcharty game where if you're playing like a million trick takers, you're like, okay, I can pick this up. But if it's like you're picking this up and there's already like 5 people at the table and it's pretty confusing because there's a lot of cards in the trick, it was tough. So I don't know if it's a good intro trick-taking game. I think overall, like, most people liked it. The next game we played was called Top of Hinode Town, which is a really, really fun game about... It's kind of like the cat in the box where you're... there's cats in it as well. But it's cat in the box-ish where you're trying to win tricks and put your marker... because for every, like, for your biggest group, you get additional points. But what's cool is the winner of the trick gets to pick the next spot you're fighting over. But the losers of the trick get to take cubes that were on that card that you just fought over. And those cubes help you either get in suit or turn your card from really low to really high, or are just worth points. So it's cool. It's another one of those, like, winning the trick is good, losing the trick is good, which is always nice. I had a really good time. I'm hoping to do a video on that too, because I think it was a really well-balanced game that everyone pretty much liked. And then after that we played Cauldron 15, which is a little bit like American Bookshop. I like it less just because you can kind of just get like messed over, I think, a bit more readily in that game than in American Bookshop, but it's still really, really fun. I like it a lot. The premise is you're trying to get the cards you win to be 15, exactly. And it's one of those things like American Bookshop where if the total of the trick is under 15, the winner takes the lowest card. If it's over 15, you take the highest card. And if it's exactly 15, you get to pick which card you want. So it's cool. There's a mechanic where like, if you collect all of a certain color, you can like discard a card. And that wasn't happening a lot. I remember that happening last time we played, but it just like, that part kind of fell flat. So I'm hoping, I don't know, maybe a different player count, but I'm hoping a certain player count would have that mechanism shine more. It's always tough when a game has like a really cool mechanism that just doesn't come out enough. I always feel like wanting more when that happens. Next we played Touchdown Heroes, which, woof, we played it with 2 different groups. One of it was like, ooh, like the worst game of the con for those people. And then another one was like the best game of the con for the other people. So it's a really wacky game. It's supposed to emulate football, like Canadian football or American football in a way. You play on teams, and you play across from your teammate, and you're trying to throw the ball or run the ball. If it's a throw, it's may follow. If it's a run, it's must follow. It's really cool ideas there, but it is like kitchen sink, so confusing, a million mechanisms, like the graphic design's all over the place. It is a wacky, wacky, wacky game. I'm hoping to cover it, but it is just like kind of woof. It's a lot, but it's funny because some people just like loved it, and then some people hated it. Definitely an interesting game. But yeah, I like it. It's one of those games where you're what is it, in for an ounce, in for a pound. It's just if it's a crazy game, I'm leaning into it. But yeah, it is a lot to teach and a lot to play and a lot to keep track of overall. But yeah, Touchdown Heroes was okay. Then we played Operations Master, and yikes, that was an interesting game. So there's simple rules and unsimple rules. So the simple rules are you play a card to the trick, and then after everyone's played a card to the trick, you play a die to the trick, and then those add up, and that's the card total that you played to the trick. And then highest of the lead wins. It was funny because I think the basic game is interesting, and it was fun. It's all about timing. It's just very simple. The advanced game is whenever you place a die to the trick, it comes with a power. And the power is either take that, or you can change someone's other die, or you can change your die. You can move some things around. But it just made it really thinky for almost no reason. It slowed it a lot, and it didn't really change much. So it was weird to have a game that was like almost too simple, and then you play the advanced mode, and it's almost like way too advanced for no reason, really. So I don't know if I'll cover it. It seems like a weird game to cover. And it's always tough if I don't like games a ton to cover them on the channel. To have like the enthusiasm to really make a whole video for it is always tough. But it was okay. It was interesting, I guess. And the last game we played was my game Zap Zop, which is a trick-taking deck building game, which I really like, but I'm always nervous that, you know, I'm showing it to people and they won't like it, and I'm always nervous to like take someone's time to play my game. But I think it went well. It was fun. It's, you know, it's about improv comedy and like riffing. And I was playing it with people who were into like improv and loved like joking around and yes-anding. So it was fun to riff as we played. I thought it went well. Yeah, I'm still kind of in the finishing touches phase. So it was nice to see it in its like more complete state. But yeah, it was going well. It was fun to do. Then for super late, we played Decrypto, which is amazing. It's my favorite game of all time. And then we played Skull, which I hadn't played before, and Skull is so much fun. I played it really funny where for the first 8 hands or something, the first 8 rounds of Skull, I didn't do anything wrong, and I told the truth the whole time. I just put, so in the game, Skull, you can either put a flower out or a skull out, and skulls are bad. People don't want skulls. Why am I explaining Skull? There's someone who can explain it way better. But if you know Skull, I was just putting flowers out. I was telling the truth the whole time. I'd put a flower out, say it was a flower. I'd put 2 flowers out, I'd say they're both flowers. I was just like, pretty much just being a florist. And I was having a great time. And then I realized people were winning, and I was like, okay, I probably should play the game. So then I kept putting flowers out, but I would just push the bid. And I got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm going to flip over everyone's at the table, you know? And it worked. It worked twice in a row. And the last 2 rounds I won, and it was great. It was so much fun. I love that game. Oh, but the final game we played actually, which I think was my favorite, was My Favorite Things. So I have a video for this, but essentially it is where players will come up with a subject and pass it to another person, and that person writes down their top 5 or their favorite, or 5 of their favorite things of that subject, and something they hate. So if it was movies, it'd be like, oh, I love Citizen Kane, and I love 3 Billboards, and I love Totoro, and then a movie you don't like, what movie do I not like? Across the Universe. I'm sorry. I do not like that movie at all. Sorry to all you Beatles heads out there. But, yeah, you'd write down those, and then you'd cover up what numbers they meant. So, like, underneath, so you would write Citizen Kane, and then underneath it'd say, like, you know, your second favorite movie of all time, and you cover that up, and then you pass it to someone. And so it was great, because you got to, like, learn who everyone else was at the table, and we were getting some spicy, really interesting categories. One of them was, like, sounds, and someone just put bell, which is great. What is bell? Is bell someone's favorite sound? Yeah, you never know. It was so good. I learned so much about these people that I had just met for the con. And it was, I think, maybe the most fun trick-taking I've had, like, from the simplest game. It was crazy. There's such a magic to that game. The categories were so good. It was like favorite sketch comedy shows, or favorite patterns, or one of them was haircuts. This is just good. It's just fun to know. Do you know 5 haircuts? I don't know. You tell me. But it was so much fun. This was like easily the highlight of the con. Shouts out to Julian and Will and Bert and Dan and all the things I learned about them on that fateful night. But yeah, so that was the con. So much fun, and I had just an absolute blast playing with everyone and teaching everyone and just getting to know everyone, and go to get food and late nights and kind of craziness that ensued. But okay, cut, too much. I'm rambling. All that to say, thank you so much to everyone who came. If you want to come, you totally should. Next time, it is a blast. So many amazing people and so many amazing games. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this, and I'll catch you later.